All right, we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Left Wing. How's everybody doing?
I'm doing good, TJ. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Doing all right. Been one of those hectic days, just getting stuff all figured out and everything. I'm very happy to have Superman Todd on as our guest. I've been following him on TikTok for a while, and I actually did a live interview with him on my YouTube channel, Powers Taken, Not Given, on YouTube and TikTok. You guys can find it there. But it was a pretty good time. So how you doing, man?
Doing great. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate you having me again. Maybe some people will see my stuff because I get over 20,000 views, and that's even few and far between.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it happens. Hey, this channel John, I was thinking our channel, like this week wasn't too good for our views, but that's been an anomaly. Like the last 2 months or so, we're almost back to where we were mid last year. Like I was like, oh, look at that. It took like 8 months.
The Israel shadow bans came in.
We went from getting several hundred views, like on average, the occasional 1,000 or 2,000, to single-digit views for the better part of 6 months. I mean, it was a slog going through that, and so I'm glad we finally we're breaking out of this. I was telling John about a video you did yesterday, Todd, and it was the video you did about jewelry. And I thought that was so great. I loved that video because the arbitrary value we give to literally shiny rocks because they look pretty. Yeah, we can put them on stuff. It's pretty funny. It just shows that deep down we are just animals in a lot of ways. Oh, look how shiny the pretty thing, and then we will fight and we will sacrifice hours of our lives, take off chunks
thousands
of our
people, if not millions, have been killed throughout the course of human history for shiny rocks.
Right?
Not me.
Not me.
Couldn't
be me.
Somebody was talking to me this week about somebody buying somebody's engagement ring. It's like, oh yeah, 3 months salary. When I was like an 18, 19-year-old kid, hearing 3 months salary for a ring, okay, that made sense. But now that I'm doing okay, and it's like, yeah, those drop like 30. Theoretically, I would drop $30,000 on a rock for somebody to wear on their finger that can be stolen just like that, be gone. Like, hell no.
Todd, just quick question for you. Do you happen to have headphones that you might be able to put in? Because you're definitely, I'm hearing cutouts, and I think it might be because your computer's picking up on the audio. It's fine. It's fine. We're rolling.
It is. Yeah, it is what it is. It's fantastic. All right. So we got a great show planned for you today, guys. We got a few topics to go over. It's going to be pretty fun. Well, we'll go to the guest. Todd, which topic jumped out the most at you that you would like to go over?
I think the rescheduling of marijuana for me is a big one that I think the fact that we're even still having that conversation. I feel like even unless you're a super hardcore conservative person, even the typical conservative is like,
yep,
the heck is marijuana still a Schedule I narcotic? And why are people still going to jail for it? So it's pretty clear that the American people have wanted for a long time for that to change. So it's kind of one of those issues for me that kind of points out the government really doesn't work for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really doing what we want. Like it's how many years we've been talking about this now, and it's still just kind of this tease of like, they're about to do it.
My biggest thing with it is usually when the government is doing something that is against the will of the people, especially something that is so starkly against, 70% of American adults support marijuana legalization straight up, not even decriminalization or moving it down from a Schedule I drug. They straight up want it to be recreationally legal. And whenever there is such a stark contrast between what the American people want and what the government is doing, usually I go, oh well, clearly there's moneyed interests lobbying them. But legal marijuana is already a $35 billion industry. That there are investors waiting to, like, very rich, very wealthy, very powerful investors waiting to jump into this market and invest in it, and want the government to legalize it for that reason. So it really, like, this is one of the things that surprises me most, that it's taking this long to move past. And I know that, like, you know, pharma is entrenched and they're profiting off this. The military industrial complex, the prison industrial complex obviously profits off of this. Like, there's obviously people profiting off of marijuana being so illegal, but also there's so many people who would profit if it were legal. And I'm surprised that that doesn't kind of cancel itself out, and Biden just makes the very popular choice here. I don't know. What do you think, TJ? Do you think I'm crazy that, like, the money is relatively even on both sides here?
I don't know. It's hard. So I think it's kind of a mix of the fact that there definitely is, like, money involved, because yeah, it is a big industry and investors could get into this, but what may be one of the biggest industries in the country is pharmaceuticals.
Mhm.
And it's hard to imagine that if there was just a plant that could alleviate a lot of symptoms that they go buy, you know, stuff for, that they won't take a hit. You know, it's like they won't collapse, of course, but and they could try to market their own, but this is something, it's you can grow this yourself. You can grow it yourself. You can buy it from anyone on the street who grows it. And we've been using it for so long. People have kind of figured out a lot about it and how to regulate the dosages and stuff. So it's not like it's this brand new substance that has a lot of danger to it that people are scared. I was like, no, they're already using it anyway. They're just doing it illegally. So I don't know if you know, they sell, you know, like weed Trex or something, whatever pill they come out for it, and it's not gonna, you know, work quite as well. But I do think that there's actually a genuine ideological opposition to this from people like Joe Biden. Like, I do. I think that it's like generationally, they really do think, no, this is wrong. Adding another legalized intoxicant into the populace is going to have some negative side effects, and it will. Like, it will. Like, it absolutely will. Like, it's but you have to weigh that against, you know, the damage that's being caused by making it illegal and the lives that it's destroying. So with this, and you mentioned, like, the public support for it and everything. This is something that I'm almost going to have to admit I was wrong. Almost. We'll see, because I've been saying for years, ever since Biden first came out with his announcement about this thing 2 fucking years ago, that it's insane that marijuana is a Schedule I drug, and that you know, it's not as dangerous as heroin. And now, oh no,
we're
do you guys still
right here? Yeah, we're. There he goes. I'm just gonna hop right in. Oh wait, are you back, TJ?
I'm back. Okay, I'm back.
Okay,
all right, cool. All right. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, saying that he was gonna, you know, check on this, everything. So now it's come out that the DEA did their review, and they said, okay, we're gonna lower it from Schedule I to Schedule III, which did surprise me. I didn't think the DEA would do that, or the DEA would do that. That did kind of surprise me. But there's still like 9 more steps to this thing. It's got to go to the Office of, like, management budget. Why? I don't know. And then it's got to go through another step of public inquiry. I don't even know what that means. Like public questioning or something like that. And then there's one more, and I haven't seen every article I read about this says this could be a rather lengthy process. I'm not even sure how long this would possibly take. And like Todd was saying, all of this work to do like 5% of what needs to be done. It's obnoxious. And Biden, if he thinks this is what's going to win him over some of the youth vote that he lost, buddy, no, this isn't going to do that at all. It's not going to really galvanize and energize the populace on this stuff. So it's just bad politics to me. It's just really bad. I don't know what he plans to do here. What do you think his whole goal here is with this, Todd? What do you think?
Yeah, I've almost given up trying to make sense of what is coming out of the White House right now. Like, I feel like it's a swing and a miss about every week about something different. So I'm trying to make sense out of it. I just wonder, like, you know, there's some other things about the money. Like, I don't know how much money is out there to be made. I would like to think that, you know, the Philip Morris is out there. Can't wait to make Marlboro Greens and make tons of and that they've got lobbyists out there trying to make that happen. And then I think there's probably, I mean, how much of the border issue do you lose if you completely end the prohibition of marijuana? How much of the drug cartels in south of the border lose their steam and stop being so scary? Is that part of it? That part of it just to continue the prohibition, the black markets, and the scary, oh God, the Mexicans are down here doing this, and it continues to give you the border security issue? And do you lose that with I don't know.
I think that what you're kind of talking about, we know with absolute certainty that criminalizing drugs, marijuana in particular, because of how not dangerous it is, but really all drugs in general, is not effective at preventing drug use, preventing drug trafficking, and reducing harm that comes from drugs. We know this. The science knows this. And it really does upset me when people, with COVID were like, oh, well, you got to listen to the science. But then like with shit like this, they'll be like, no, well, we just got to keep it illegal because that's the way it's always been, and that's Joe Biden's entire argument here. Like, there is no actual legitimate fact-based scientific argument to be made for the prohibition of drugs. It's entirely just, I'm old and this is how it's always been done. And so we're going to keep doing it this way.
Biden is from, I was thinking about this today. Biden is from the generation of when the war on drugs started, and Nixon started this to get all these hippies who are on campuses who are protesting in Vietnam and protesting civil rights. And this was an easy way for him to get back. And I was thinking about, and now here's Biden, and he's got all these kids on the campuses who are protesting all this stuff with Palestine and Israel. And, just thinking about the connections between that. He was back here whenever that all started, the whole marijuana becoming evil and illegal the way that it is today. And then now here we are, kind of a different issue. But again, we've got kids that we're about to criminalize kids protesting Israel.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it is what you're alluding to. It is about the control, right? Like, it's the reason that the government wants it to be so illegal is because it allows them greater opportunity to control the population. If you make a drug that a lot of people are going to use, especially younger people who tend to cause you more problems, you can use the existence of that drug to do a hell of a lot of things to those people, like throw them in prison, even though that's not beneficial to society. It just allows the government more control. And it was really funny because I was telling TJ yesterday that I recently watched American Gangster, and it was so funny watching this film made in the 90s about the 60s and 70s. And there's a news segment on it where talking about how, the opioids and marijuana coming out of Vietnam, and they're getting our troops addicted to them. And I'm like, that sounded so ridiculous to me. And to me, in the year 2024, I'm like, that almost sounds satirical. But I know when this movie was made in the 90s, that line didn't sound crazy. Like, it didn't sound like they were making fun of it. When that movie was made, that line was intentionally meant to paint the marijuana as equally as bad. And it really blows my mind that anyone even bought it back then. Like, I wasn't there. I wasn't around. But I feel like anyone could have been like, yeah, no, clearly the people I know who are smoking pot aren't like these people who are doing opium. It's so clear and obvious. I don't know how this myth ever even started, because I also feel like most people have done pot. Like, am I wrong about that? I haven't even looked, but I feel like a lot more people have done pot than fucking heroin. And I think there's a reason for that.
So, Todd, I forgot to warn you. John is like 27 years old, and he likes to flex on us that he wasn't around for the 90s. And so just to get used to that,
I was around. I was just,
well, you don't remember much of it. So, these subtle strays he throws in there, don't take them personally. Like, he likes to do that. But
I said the 60s and 70s, TJ, please. Like, I wasn't around for the 60s.
I thought you meant American Gangster and
American Gangster, that was made in the '90s. Yeah, I didn't
Okay,
watch
all
American
right,
Gangster
okay.
when
I
it came
take it
out in
back. I take
theaters,
it back.
no.
I'm a fair man. But so the this idea that marijuana is, you know, this wildly dangerous drug dates back to, I want to say, the 1920s or 30s. And it's kind of like this vestige of what, maybe Horace Greeley. Was he around in the 20s? It was somewhere back then, like early 19th century, or I mean late 19th century, early 20th century. And Horace Greeley was like a newspaper magnate, among other things. And he realized that a lot of people were starting to use hemp as a substitute for paper, for rope, and for, you know, or twine, you know, different things. And so he didn't want that competition. He wanted to stick it with timber, and he didn't want to be undercut by people who were using cannabis. So he helped fund this campaign like nationwide to get people scared of they stopped calling it cannabis and started calling it marijuana because it's a scary Mexican name, which frightened the good Christian folk of the United States. And they would like release these videos of reefer madness that you know, Black people and Hispanic people were, you know, taking puffs of marijuana and just going crazy, you know, attacking white women and committing crime, and which is really like hilarious because like all weed does is make you chill, you know, all the time. But it helped propagate this notion that marijuana was incredibly dangerous, and that was like the foundation of the fear of marijuana. And then as time went on, now that, you know, the Nixon, as Todd mentioned, used the war on drugs as he said it out loud, like it was Nixon. I mean, he wasn't like hiding the shit, that it was a weapon to undercut the power of hippies and Black people. I think that's exactly what he said. And you know, then Reagan came along and supercharged it. So for the better part of a century now, Americans have been fed this steady diet that marijuana is dangerous. And as time's gone on, more and more people are like, okay, no, it's not. But folks like Joe Biden, who was, you know, born, Jesus, when was Biden born? Like the 30s or something. They still kind of hold on to that. And a lot of those people are in power. I'm sure that has a lot to do with it too, that a lot of the older people are the ones holding the levers of power. And the prison industrial complex is a good point. I actually didn't think about that when I was considering this, because I remember when I was working here in the Army, I remember a guy was trying to join the Army, and he had I can't remember why he spent like a night in jail or something. It was some minor infraction, whatever. And I had to go to the jail to get the fact that he spent the night here in jail or whatever, like public intoxication or whatever it was. And he said, "Oh yeah, it's a private jail." I was like, "What?" I had actually never heard of a private jail before. I had never heard. It's like that sounds like something that shouldn't exist for like 1,000 very obvious reasons. And you have this, and there aren't a lot of them actually. Like for private prisons and private jails make up like it's single digit percentages of the prisons in the United States. But you know, they are private and they have a lot of money behind it, so they will donate a whole lot to keep stuff illegal because it makes them a lot of money. So they have this outsized influence just because it affects their bottom dollar. And I'm positive that does. That's a good point, John. I believe that too.
For sure. And the one thing that was brought up earlier that I wanted to address was the Joe Biden of it all in terms of electoral politics. And it was really funny in the article that you sent over, TJ, how it was just like, oh yeah, and the administration might hope to that this improves their image with young voters. And I'm just like, that's such an insane thing.
Insulting.
Like,
Insulting.
Laughably insulting. Even if he had like full on just said, yeah, it's legal now, I would be like, yeah, that's laughably insulting. But at least I would buy the argument that like it could be construed as, hey, he's trying to appeal to youth voters. But like, how does this appeal to young people? Even where it's like where I am, it's decriminalized. I can go over to Jersey and buy it recreationally. I don't need to, because it's so like it's the older people who this actually affects, the people trying to start marijuana businesses, all that. The young people have been buying it illegally for decades and have never had a problem with it. Like, I don't understand how changing the schedule of the drug is supposed to appeal to the young. Like, most people don't even understand what that means. I just thought that was really funny.
I'm not even sure. I read like 5 articles on this, and I couldn't get a definitive answer of what it even means to lower it to Schedule 3. It says that the restrictions. Oh, go ahead, Todd.
I think the thing that it means the most for young people, like, one, everybody can get marijuana, even wherever it's illegal. The cops don't care about it unless they're trying to get you for something else, and it's just PC and they smell it. The one thing I think that it does improve quality of life is the fact that if you've got a good job and they piss test you, changing it to a Schedule 3 means now you don't get fired for having marijuana.
Oh, okay.
If you're in the military and you're getting random drug tested, then you no longer get separated for having marijuana in your system or get sent to counseling or therapy, whatever they do. I think that's the biggest impact. I mean, nobody's getting locked up for marijuana outside of people who are trafficking it in large amounts, maybe getting a ticket at the most for doing it. But going to your job and getting high the weekend before, and they're like, hey, you're up for a random, and tomorrow you're losing your job. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and that's definitely a positive effect of, like, it doesn't feel right shitting on Biden for this necessarily, because it is it's a positive thing, but like it's such an insultingly small thing. It's like hey, please sir, may I have another, and them giving it to you, and then you're supposed to be grateful. Like not really.
It's a too little, too late type of thing, really. Because so I don't know if I talked to you about this, John. So if you've heard me give the speech before, I apologize, but I want to get you guys' opinions on this. So whenever Biden came out with a big announcement that they're going to look at trying to reschedule marijuana, but they have to go through, this, Rube Goldberg machine esque, type of thing, trying to find out all the steps to get it done. What I said is that's stupid. What Biden should do is just unilaterally announce marijuana is decriminalized now, or marijuana is legal. Just do it. Stroke of a pen, boom, done. And I got a lot of flack from people saying, well, he can't really do that. I was like, I don't care. He should do it anyway. He should do it. Yeah. He should still do it.
Make someone stop him. Then they're the bad guy.
Exactly, because what all these fucking nerds would say is like, well, if he does that, the Republicans are going to challenge him in court, and it's going to be dragged out. He'll probably lose. Once again, I don't care. Do it anyway. Make the Republican Party have a year-long, protracted, very public court case against the president of the United States, in which they're arguing that marijuana is as dangerous as heroin and should be illegal. Like make them say it over, like Leonard Johnson said, make the son of a bitch say it. Like, make them say this every day. Make them defend this position. Even if Biden loses, and let's grant that he loses. Let's say he does lose in court. There's no way that's a political loss. Like, you will be the guy that said, hey, I did everything I could to make marijuana legal, and the Republican Party stood in the way. Tell me how that hurts him. I once again, look, I've never been a politician, and Biden's been one longer than I've been alive, so maybe he knows something I don't know. But I have a hard time believing that is a failing plan. I don't get it at all. Definitely better than this one.
I think it's just one of those boomer things. We're coming up on 4. His first term's almost over, and he couldn't even get this done. Like, just about opportunity. If you weren't going to do it, then why'd you say something about it 2 years ago?
Yeah. It's God. It is very frustrating. But hey, look, we'll take what we can get, I guess. It's like I agree with what you said, John. Is that it's good. I'm just not sure how much good it's going to do. Like, especially since we don't even know when this is going to happen, when this is going to kick in. It's kind of weird. All right, cool. So I wanted to bring something up that you talked about, Todd. This is related to the topic, but not necessarily directly tied in. So one thing that I've always hated is random drug tests at work. I never thought that was cool. And I also don't like drug tests to get into a job, like for an application, because it doesn't make any sense to me. So I smoked weed 3 weeks ago, and now I apply for this job, and you're saying, nope, sorry, you can't do it because you got high 3 weeks ago. Why? What does that have to do with, my performance on the job? Now, if I'm at work and, I injure myself and you want to do a drug test to make sure, fine, that makes sense. Okay. But, the drug test doesn't mean you're high at the interview. It means you were high, like going back 30 or 45 days. I never agreed with that. I never thought that was a good idea. It seems like it should be illegal. Like what the
really
fuck business is it of yours? So go ahead.
It really it seems like a fucking health violation. Like it's just like that's my personal fucking business.
Yeah.
Like I don't even understand how that's relevant to any employer. Like
it's not. And it's like, well, you're inebriated. So, but drinking is fine. I mean,
yeah,
like, if you got drunk the night before, that's not going to show up. But but that's the same principle, right? Like, why?
Legal recreational drugs, I could maybe buy the argument, but we have many legal recreational drugs, so I don't get why some employers are allowed to not hire you for, but some they are. It doesn't make any sense.
So this is something that I figured out 2 years ago. When I got out of the Army and I was like applying for jobs and everything, because I remember applying for jobs, at like Tyson factories, retail and stuff like that. And I remember doing, drug tests and everything for those jobs. But once, at least I don't know you guys, well, I guess Todd can't speak to it just yet, but John, once you get to like higher positions, they don't do that shit anymore. Like I've never taken, ever since I got out and I get like, program manager jobs and stuff, they have never drug tested me. It's like, all right, you're good to go. It's for the pores.
I've not been drug tested since like my job out of college. Like
exactly. Like this is the
like the high school jobs like I did growing up, like the jobs I did in college. Yeah, they all fucking drug tested me. But like, after that first one, it was just I don't give a shit.
And look, no one does more drugs than like upper middle class management types. They fucking love it. They do it all the time. Yeah. So that's another thing that's incredibly unfair. It's like, oh, you need this job to survive. If you don't get this job, you could very well miss your next rent payment or your car payment or your child support or whatever. All right, we're going to gatekeep the hell out of this, but you're applying for your third, 6-figure job of the last, 5 years. Yeah, come on in. Yeah, you're good. You're fine. We know you're okay. It's really fucked up. I'm glad, because I noticed that a couple of years ago, but that's pretty weird. And
that's your fault because you should just stay off the weed.
Stay off the weed.
Come on, DJ.
The same people that would argue that you should be able to be drug tested by your employer because XYZ are the same people who say your employer shouldn't be able to make sure that you're vaccinated to keep everybody safe in the office.
Right. Yeah. Weird how that works. And John, if you would permit us, I'd like to talk a little inside baseball here with Todd about military drug tests. So military drug tests are hilarious to me. They're very funny. You get a text message at like 4 a.m. and says, hey, we're having a urinalysis at 6 a.m. At the battalion. They do like full ones, but usually it's like a 10% one, I think they usually do. And they you're picked at random, come on down there. So you go down and you're sitting in the room with, however many people and you're waiting around. You spend those 2 hours just downing water. So you're ready to pee when you get there. And then they come in, they read you the form they have to read and saying, you need your ID card. You don't have it. Your commander will identify who you are and everything. And then they ask for volunteers to be what we lovingly refer to as meat gazers. And we need someone to watch you pee because you can't just go into the room and do it in the bathroom and do it yourself. And I mean, I'm sure, listen, Todd, I'm sure your unit is not like this. I will not cast aspersions. The meat gazers don't actually watch you pee. They just stand in the back of the bathroom. They just stand back while you're peeing. They don't want to stare at your junk either. Mm-hmm. But I was thinking about this because I remember years ago when there was this initiative for like getting transgendered soldiers into the military and the rules and regulations behind this. And so we're having this big meeting on this. And so, when you do this, they say, okay, we need meat gazers. We need observers for the males and we needed observers for the females. The females will do theirs and the males will do theirs. And then they said, well, hold on. What about your analysis for a transgender individual? Because you could be transgender and, your genitals may still be the same of the sex you had assigned at birth. And that puts you in a difficult situation. So if I'm a trans man, for example, or and like or I'm a trans woman, I can understand why, a female soldier's like, okay, well, I don't want to stare at his penis. I just don't. Like, I don't feel comfortable with that. All right, I get that. But it could also be the other way around. It's like, well, I don't want you staring. And so what they told us is, okay, well, if that happens, then you call a member from the medical staff and the medical staff will come observe it. And I had two thoughts. My first thought was, oh, that makes sense. And the second one is, wait, why don't we always do that? Like, why have I been staring at junk for a decade now when we could just have medical staff do this when that is part of their job? I thought that was funny. I don't know if you run across any like weird urinalysis stories, Todd, but
I can't specifically remember any weird ones, but other than the fact that we do it all the time.
All the time. It's pretty fun. I don't know. It's good stuff. Oh, man. Sorry, John, as I had to bring that in. What are you looking up?
Nothing. I'm actually replying to a work thing. Yes. For our viewers who are unaware, despite popular belief, being a political content creator is not a lucrative a position, and all of us have jobs. There's very few of us who are able to. Very few of us are the Hassans of the world.
But yeah, well, being a left-wing content creator does it like
that's true.
Yeah, like if we all switch to right wing, like we had more money we could spend.
How much money is the older millennial making?
That fucking guy, man. That fucking guy. So a lot of content creators, they don't necessarily like he's falls straight in this category, is that they don't really make content as so much as they make rage bait. Like all it is like, I'm gonna say the most preposterous, absurd thing that I can think of, because I know it's gonna make people mad. People are going to stitch me, dunking on me. People are going to flood my videos with comments. And look, get that bag, man, whatever. But that's the laziest fucking form of entertainment imaginable, because it takes no work at all. It's like, well, hey, have you considered maybe women should be property? I think that's a great idea. And then, you're going to get flooded with all this hate. And that's why I never do anything with this guy. Like I couldn't imagine doing that, because I have no respect for content creators like that, because it's the laziest thing you could actually do.
It does blow my mind. It's basically just like getting punched in the face for money. Like I don't understand why people do, and it's not easy. Like, I know how hard it is to get to the point where you're making money doing that, and so you just have to be taking so much shit over and over and over again before you start making money, and you just have to be okay with that. I don't know how people get from zero to there. Yeah. I understand how once people have that and they can monetize it, but I don't understand the in-between steps to get there.
I don't think there is an in-between step. I don't. It's like, what I think is so the best salespeople are sociopaths. Like, those are the best salespeople. Say people who legitimately do not give a fuck if you like them or not. They don't care if they have to lie. They don't care what they have to do, because they know it'll make them money. And, having feelings is a detriment in that career. And so if you don't have those feelings, you kind of rise to the top. So I think someone like him, that's just who he is. He doesn't really care. He doesn't care about, well, everyone thinks I'm an asshole, a misogynist, a racist, a bigot, an anti-Semite. He doesn't care, because it makes him money. But I think my guess is he's always been that way, and he's found a lane to monetize that. Like that, because you're right, a regular person would have a difficult time, crossing that line. But I think that would be my guess.
I thought he was faking it for the longest time. I thought, this guy just totally puts on an act, until some of his lives started popping up on my FYP, and you actually watch his drunken self, like naturally, like with his wife and stuff. He's a real guy. That's really who he is.
This would be a great segment, like real or not, for conservative commentators. That would be
I like that.
Do you guys know who Jesse Lee Peterson is?
No, I don't think so.
Oh God, that's too bad. He's a black conservative, and he's
he's
okay.
I've seen this guy. I've seen him.
He can't carry on a conversation.
No,
following.
No, like Jesse Lee. So For the longest time, I thought Jesse Lee Peterson was an act because listen, if Jesse Lee Peterson has a triple digit IQ, I will eat my hat. Like there's just no way. Like he is just and it's like, and look, I'm not, disparaging people because of the way they talk, because that's an unfair way to judge people's intelligence. But not only is he stupid, but he can't communicate well either. Like he's stuttering and stumbling and tripping over his words and just slurring and everything. So already a horrible broadcaster, but he does fill the role of being a black face for white supremacy and, saying that, black people can't take care of themselves. If it weren't for white people, black people would be, living in the woods, chucking spears and all that shit. Like, that's just how he is. And I thought it was an act, but the more and more I saw from him, I'm like, no, I think this is just actually who he is. And it says a lot about you because Jesse Lee Peterson's not smart. Like, that there's no way you could actually think, yeah, this guy's really got it going on. Just listen to him. But you're so desperate for, a justifiable way for your racism to be represented that you'll glob on. The fact that he has a following is a staggering indictment on this country. Like, nobody should be listening to Jesse Lee Peterson, but he is the worst black conservative because go ahead.
Pastor? Isn't he like a pastor of a church?
I don't know if he's a pastor, but he's definitely like a deeply religious guy. Like religion is a really big part of his deal. He talks about it all the time, but I don't know if he's an ordained minister or not, but who knows? Weird. Yeah, weird. All right. Where do you want to go to next, John? Where do we want to tackle here?
What do we got? We got MTG. I say we do the two Israel ones connected and last. So let's go to Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh God, this is too bad. So the Marjorie Taylor. So I had some videos I wanted to share on this, but my computer was all messed up. I couldn't get it done. But so basically, Marjorie Taylor Greene announced a few weeks back that she was getting the band back together. She was gonna introduce a resolution to try to vacate Speaker of the House Mike Johnson from office because he was a rhino, because he funded the government and he didn't, collapse our entire, government structure. And so that was like the charges, like her beef with him. And she kind of sent it out as like a shot across the bow, kind of a threat. But the other day, she just came out and said, yes, next week when we convene, I am actually putting this on the floor. Like, I want to vote on this. And I saw the two clips I wanted to share. It was a clip of Mike Johnson being interviewed on like CNBC or something. And they asked him, they said, so Marjorie Taylor Greene. And then he said, oh, bless her heart, which at this point, yeah, I know, right?
Say that to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Like, she is the most bless your heart person. Like that cut her to her core.
Well, and so at this point, I don't know why bothering with the bless your heart euphemism, because we all know what it means now. Maybe it was 20 years ago, you could have gotten away with that, but everyone knows bless your heart means F you, kind of like in the Army, a lot of ways hua means F you, something like that. And so he was talking about that, and he says, like, and the interviewer was like, so do you, are you concerned with Marjorie Taylor Greene? And Mike Johnson said, listen, I don't think about her too much. I'm just trying to get my job here taken care of. I'm trying to fund the government. There are good reasons that we should be providing weapons to Ukraine. And I know she disagrees, but this is what we have to do. And he says, if she wants to put forward this motion, I say, let the chips fall where they may. And I wanted to bring that up because she came out and she made a public presentation and she said, listen, Mike Johnson claims to be a Christian conservative. Now, listen, look, all right. If there's one thing I know about Mike Johnson, he's a Christian conservative. Like, to say that he's not is just obviously nonsense.
I hate to defend Mike Johnson, but yeah.
Right, yeah. there's no question about this. But she was saying that he's a rhino. He's turned his back on us. And he's made a deal with the Democrats because the Democrats said that they would save him if this happens. And I don't think that's cool. But I'm still going to put forth the motion to vacate. And then she said, let the chips fall where they may. It was incredibly petty. Like, she quoted him directly when she said it. I wanted to play that video. But one thing that she said that was interesting to me is it shows, in my opinion, an incredible lack of understanding of the voting populace of the constituency of the two different parties. Because what she said was, I'm fine with this because I can kill two birds with one stone here. One, I can find out which Republicans are the real Republicans, the ones that actually believe the same things I believe. And second, the Democrats are going to vote to save Mike Johnson, and they're going to have to go back to their districts and defend why they voted for a Republican. I'm interested to see how that worked. And I was like, okay, that would be a detriment to Republicans. Like if any Republican anywhere voted for a Democrat, they would be crucified. Like the Republicans voters would destroy them. That doesn't work for Democrats. Democrats are just begging for the opportunity to vote for Republicans to show, hey, look how reasonable and bipartisan I am. Look how rational I can be. We can get Congress to work. That's what the Democratic voting base is not going to punish Democrats for doing that, but it would punish Republicans. So once again, I just think it just shows her insane nature, and also that she doesn't understand anything about this position. What do you think, John?
So I think I'm going to say a couple things which I've never said before. First, Marjorie Taylor Greene is right. Mike Johnson clearly has a deal cut with the Democrats.
Oh yeah,
or it's the only possible way that this resolves itself the way it does, because they have a 1 vote majority in the House now. Like this is the worst House leadership of all time. Like it's not even close. They've if you look at like the chart, is that they've passed like 81 laws like in the entire time that Republicans have controlled the House of Representatives, and it's like usually it's like 300 something. Like it is by far the least productive House of Representatives we have ever had in our lifetimes. And she's right. Like the only way that Mike Johnson is saved here is if the Democrats cut a deal with him to save him, which is what happened. My biggest response to this is, why the hell are Democrats doing this? I would have understood if they did this to save McCarthy, but why are they doing this to save Johnson and not McCarthy when they're 1 fucking vote away from control? Like they're 1 vote away. All they need is 1 more defector to go and they win. Like we take the entire House. We have the trifecta again. Why wouldn't you do everything you can to sabotage the Republican Party? It doesn't make what are you gonna do? Pass laws now? That clearly isn't gonna happen. Like I don't know what you're getting out of this. What do you think, Todd?
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like it. I mean, you're with one, just 1 in the lead. I mean, that's just 1 fender bender before the vote is all it takes to change everything. Or
one dude is sick that day, and you have control of the House.
Family, like any sort of thing, and it changes everything. Like I feel like even back whenever they were trying to figure out how they're going to deal with the McCarthy thing, and that was playing out. It was a possibility that the Democrats could still, get Hakeem Jeffries there, if things just fell a certain way. So I feel like I don't know what's changed between then and now. Like, I mean, they got 1 more vote, and there's no way to politic your way into something better.
You can't buy 2 Republican votes and get Hakeem Jeffries as the speaker. Like you really can't just get 2 Republicans to switch sides for you. The Republicans do it all the fucking time.
and also I'm like, to what Marjorie Taylor Greene says, like we all know that she can't be taken seriously, but what the heck is a Republican now? Like what is?
Oh my God, good question. Good question.
What does a Republican even stand for now? I don't know that you could pull a Republican off the street and get them to give you a line by line list of even 3 things that being a Republican means, other than I hate transgenders, I hate gay people, and
I love Trump.
RT, get rid of it. Like what does being a Republican even mean anymore?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, like, you bring up a great point there, Todd, in that what is happening with the Republican Party right now and the right wing of the Republican Party is very interesting, because it's like watching a broken clock be right. Like it's just like, yeah, a lot of the things Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying is kind of right here. Yeah, the parties do tend to work in unison to fund wars and shit and like do stuff like that. But the thing that the problem with that all the time is there's a long history of the far right co-opting left wing verbiage and slogans and all of this, because on their face they're correct and they sound right to their base. It's just that what they end up doing with those conclusions is incredibly wrong. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene, if she had control tomorrow, she ain't defunding the military. She's not doing that. Like she can say this all she wants. It's not going to happen. None of these right wingers actually want to solve the problems, but what they can do is fire up their base. And Marjorie Taylor Greene knows that she's not long for this world in Congress. Like she knows she
really. You think so?
I very much think that Marjorie Taylor Greene knows that when Trump is gone, she is gone, and and when she is gone, she's gonna have a lucrative fucking career with this base that she brought up. She's gonna be fucking Jones or fucking whatever for the rest of her life, and she's gonna make millions and millions of dollars off of it. And that is her end goal. So it doesn't matter to her if she destroys the Republican Party. It's very lucrative for her. Her long-term goals are not having the Republican Party dominate and govern. She doesn't give a shit about that. She cares about just playing to her base so they come with her when she goes to fucking Fox News.
Huh. So that's interesting because I've been warning this too, because so Marjorie Taylor Greene is not in the same position that someone like Lauren Boebert's in. Lauren Boebert won in a purplish district, and this last election in 2022, she won by like 300 votes. I mean, it was it was razor thin. And when that happened to her, I thought, okay, she's probably gonna be more moderate now. That boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong on that. Like she stood the course, and of course she's suffering for it, which is why she's trying to run in a different district now. So Boebert's going to be out. Like she's going to be gone. She's not going to be around next cycle. Greene though comes from like a fire engine red district. Like she is not losing at all, and it's going to be. I mean, I suppose if after a while, like if the Trump phenomenon wears off, that you might have a primary contender against her. But man, incumbent's really hard to beat when you got that much, especially money. And so maybe she is thinking like way ahead or something, like 10 years from now. When
even if it's 10 years, like if I genuinely like. I don't think she likes this job. I think, like Trump, she doesn't want to do this job, but she has to because it's where the bread is getting buttered. And once the equation switches, once she's like, oh yeah, I'll just retire from this job and go, do something much more fun and easy and make a lot more money doing it, she'll cut a deal and she'll be like, yeah, no, I'll step down or whatever. Like make it so that you ousted me so I can like be the victim. Like, I don't know. It just seems obvious on both sides to make that play.
I think she's playing. I think going and being the Fox News or Newsmax correspondent, like that's probably the backup plan. I think she's putting all of her eggs in the basket of Trump wins and she becomes part of the brain.
That's a good point. Yeah,
and becomes the secretary of whatever, and that's her primary plan.
I hadn't thought about that. Do you think Trump would do that for her, though? You think Trump respects Marjorie Taylor? I don't think he does. I don't think he does. Like maybe that's her goal. I just I don't know. I don't think he thinks much of her. From the interactions that I see, he doesn't seem to have it's like kind of like Carrie Lake, how we kicked Carrie Lake out of Mar-a-Lago last week, which is pretty funny. And the Fox News, and listen, oh man, how do I say this? I don't think the Fox News gig is going to work out for her. You can just
it's
imagine
not Fox
why.
News. It's not going to be Fox News for her. It's going to be fucking Newsmax. It's going to be Breitbart. It's going to be something. She's going to do her own thing.
Any medium that's a visual medium. I'll put it that way. I'll put it this way. That I have a hard time believing that like maybe she has a podcast. Maybe that'll work out or something like that. But if you're going to be a forward facing with your image, kind of hard to see Marjorie Taylor Greene doing that.
Wait, why are you saying that?
I'm just saying that's just my gut instinct.
She looks like a Fox News anchor. Like she looks like she came out of the Fox News factory.
No, she looks like a Fox News anchor that was bitten by the wrong type of radioactive spider. I'll put it that way. Like that actually had like horrible effects and everything. No, I don't think she's up to
interesting. I didn't think. Yeah, like I wouldn't necessarily have said that. I don't know. Like
Todd, you got to break the tie here. You got to break this misogynistic tie. What do you think? Because no, I don't see it at all. No, what do you think, man?
I mean, I think you got to consider where a lot of these conservatives come from. And what the typical woman looks like to them. Okay.
She looks like every white woman in Florida. Like,
listen, Marjorie Taylor Greene just looks like she's been through a lot. I'll just put it that way. She's been through. Like she looks like. I mean, it's just I don't know. She looks kind of like she's no Lauren Boebert. I'll put it that way, you know.
She's no Lauren Boebert, but I think she has a place on television. Let us know in the comments what you think. Should Marjorie Taylor Greene be on TV or the radio?
The hottest horrible Republican out there. No, but this is I think Todd, you mentioned this, which is a really good point. Is that so like. People, we've been some of those people. People have been bashing Nancy Pelosi for as long as I've been alive. People have been talking about Nancy Pelosi and how she's abrasive and she's dismissive and she's elitist and she does insider trading. And, all that stuff is true. But I tell you what, she ran a hell of a tight ship when she was Speaker of the House. She never brought forth legislation that she wasn't 100% certain was going to pass. She never made the party look bad. She was a fundraising machine, which is unfortunately the most important part of being a politician. There's a reason that she was Speaker for forever, and then they lost, and then they made her Speaker again because she was great at the job. And she did foster this. Like party loyalty. Say, listen, I know that you have to vote your district and you vote your conscience, but we have to stick together as a unit here if we're going to get any, if we have a hope of getting anything done. The Republicans don't have that. They do not have that at all. There is a giant section of the Republican caucus that does not give a single solitary fuck about the Republican Party. They don't. They are all, and Matt Gaetz is a great example of that. Matt Gaetz put forward this resolution to fire Kevin McCarthy, knowing he only had like 6 people that supported him. So it was enough people to make sure McCarthy didn't get elected, but not enough people to actually elect somebody else. And he didn't give a shit. He didn't care. And that did nothing but hurt the Republican Party. The only person it helped was Matt Gaetz, because it helped raise his profile, because he doesn't have to run nationwide. He just has to run there, or he could do like whatever media thing he wants to do or something like that. And I think that it just speaks to like the fractured nature of the Republican Party, the atomistic nature of the Republican Party, that they don't really have a unified goal on anything. They're just there to further their own self-interest, even more than most politicians, and they don't care who they tank on their way out. And you guys were asking, why make a deal now with Johnson when you wouldn't with McCarthy? And I'll tell you, like, one of the main reason is because McCarthy refused to make a deal. He wouldn't. Like, they asked him like several times, like, hey, would you make a deal with the Democrats to try to keep? He said, no, there's no way I'm ever working with the Democrats. So who knows? The Democrats may have worked with McCarthy to save his job, because you give them enough, committee chairs, or you give them like whatever, like money or whatever they want, promises for legislation that could actually help them out. But McCarthy was unwilling to do so. And I think that Johnson learned from that. Like, he saw that McCarthy thought he could weather the storm by not working with it. It's like, okay, if they got Kevin McCarthy, they sure as hell are going to get me. So I don't know what he gave up, because the Democrats have, Johnson hasn't said anything about this, but the Democrats have confirmed, yes, we have made a deal with Mike Johnson. I don't know what they got from him, but if it was worth it, I can see why they would do it, because, getting a guaranteed deal from him now is a sure thing. But getting Hakeem Jeffries in there when he's going to control the minority, you may not get anything. So I think that might be the calculus.
Could be a boat. It could be a boat, TJ. I'm not a Family Guy fan, but that is one of my favorite bits ever.
But that's my guess on it. Who knows? But that's just what I got to think about that. All right.
I think a good point about that, though, that you were talking about previously is, the Democrats, they've always stuck together. Nancy Pelosi was a glue that kept the Democrats together.
Yep.
The Republicans had that, though. Newt Gingrich, Mitch McConnell, they had all that. But when they got into bed with Trump, that all ended. Like, they lost control. And so when you say there's a lot of Republicans who don't give a shit about sticking together, they're not Republicans, though. The MAGA is not. They're not Republicans. They're Trump.
They don't have to. It's just an all-in bet. Either Trump wins or he doesn't. If Trump wins, you are now the highest-ranking people in the world. You won the fascist game. And if Trump doesn't win, who gives a shit? The Republican Party's fucked anyway. So it kind of is a no-lose situation.
All right, good stuff. I want to add something to that. Narrator says that we need super chats. I don't know if we can do super chats yet.
Yeah, I saw that narrator. We definitely appreciate the love, and I will look into how you can get us money. But I do. We just passed 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah,
and I know that was like a benchmark for monetization. It might be something we're able to do super chat. So, narrator, we'll do some research. We'll look into it. And if we can have super chats, they'll be available on Wednesday when we go live again, and they'll be available the next Thursday too. And if we can't, I don't know, come to Philly and just drop me a 20.
And you an envelope or something. So yeah, like on our YouTube channel, like we've been eligible for monetization for a couple of months now, and but I didn't bother checking to see how. And because there's like two different levels of it. There's the first level, and I don't know what that is, and then the second level. But yeah, I remember seeing it a couple months back, and it's like, hey, you've made $1.88. I'm like, okay, what? Who cares? So I didn't really look into it too much, but that's interesting. So if I may, I wanted to talk to Todd about something. How you mentioned that they're not Republicans, and I guess I would disagree a little bit, because this is what Republicans are now, is what I would say. Like, Republicans are just MAGA now. Like, it used to be that you had like the Freedom Caucus, and you had the Trump folks, and they were like infringing on the Republican Party. I think that's the vast majority of Republicans now. I like the days of like the John Boehner Republicans are dying. Like the Republicans that have the loudest voice and the most influence are not Mitt Romney. Like, they're gonna be the Boeberts and the Greens and the Louis Gohmerts and the Senator Foghorn Leghorn John Kennedy. It'll be like those insane folks, and all that. But I wanted to ask I remember you telling me a while ago that when you grew up, you still had, what was it? It was like liberal Republicans, or was it liberal Republicans in your area? And then they switched to conservative, or like, was it conservative Democrats? I can't remember which one you grew up with.
So here in Kentucky politics, there was the Democrat Party always controlled state politics, but Kentucky would never vote for Democrats in national elections. Like, it was a very Southern Democrat Party in state politics. So the Democrats in the state of Kentucky were very conservative Democrats. And it's been the last 15 years probably that Republicans took over state politics too. Like, everybody just stopped being Democrats. Like, I'm not one of those granddaddy Democrats because these national Democrats are over here talking about transgenders got rights and all these gay people and whatnot. So yeah, it was. I grew up with the Democrats that I knew were overwhelmingly still pretty conservative, not progressive in any way, other than they liked unions and they were for the working man, and they meant the white working man when they said
yeah.
We just want to put in, I just turned on super chats. It was an option.
Oh, look at that! We can't do
on. I don't know if you'll be able to do it on this stream because it was already in the middle of it. So,
interesting.
narrator, let us know if you can give us money. But I can guarantee next time you'll be able to, and we very much appreciate it. Yeah. Do we want to move on to our very fun and exciting topics?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Which one do we want to do first?
I guess it's more natural to start with the protests in Colombia and then move to the legislation.
They're kind of.
I think the legislation more naturally follows.
Opposite.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Because the legislation I feel like is a little bit more targeted.
Oh, look at that.
There we go. Left is best. Thank you very much, You are our first. You have made us our first $5.
Look at that. Look at that. We're gonna frame it. Next episode, I'm gonna have it like on the back here, $5 bill or $2.50, like or something like that. Left is best. That is a callback to, man, I want to say 2016, maybe. Or is it 2020? So there was this a narrator. Tell me if this is what you're referencing. So there was this news story about this guy whose house was vandalized, and this Republican, this right-wing conservative guy, and he put out this police report that some anarchists had come and Michael Brooks. Okay, Michael. Oh God, damn, Michael Brooks, man, Michael Brooks. If I wasn't already convinced there was no God, the fact that Michael Brooks is dead and Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder are healthy as mules, like that's all it would need. That's all I guess. Like the fact that we lost Michael Brooks, like in our time of need, God is a cruel monster who revels in the suffering of his children. But left is best was so there was all this graffiti on his garage and on his driveway, and it said like Dems rule. And it had an anarchist A, except it was incorrectly drawn. Like the A was inside the circle, which is kind of like an anarchist would never do that. It's always, leads outside the circle. But he also wrote left is best on there. And a lot of people were making fun. It's like, there's no way this is real. Like, there's no way anyone's out there writing this little A inside the circle, Dems rule. Like, why would an anarchist write Dems rule and left is best? So people have been saying left is best ever since. So I'm pretty sure that's what Michael Brooks is referencing too. But I appreciate the call back to the late Michael Brooks. And also, sorry, but it does tie into this topic. Michael Brooks, I remember, it's so simple, but the best points are very simple. And I saw a video of him speaking to some students at some university. They invited him as a guest, and one of the students asked him about the situation in Gaza and, Palestine and Israel in general. He may have gotten it from there. I'm almost positive, because like that was a pretty big deal back in the day. And Brooks was so funny, but they were asking him about how we could talk about the situation with Israel and Palestine because it's a very complicated situation. He said, no, it's not. He said, it's not complicated. Like, people keep saying this, but it's not. It's like we have a settler colonial state that was imposed upon the people there, 75 years ago. And there's two sides. One side has all the money. It has all the power. It has the backing of the strongest nation on planet Earth. The other side has nothing. That's it. Like, that's it. That's it. This is not difficult at all. People keep saying it's complicated, but it's not. I was so glad to hear someone put that so concisely, because that's exactly what's going on. But yeah, let's go into the protest stuff, John. Sorry.
All right. So we're doing two Israel topics today. We'll be talking about the Colombia and the protest movement in general, and also today, Biden also happened to make a statement about it, which I hope you guys saw, because I will be discussing it. But I want to start with the legislation that was passed today. Was it today or yes? I think it was yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah.
The Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, which essentially makes the Education Department adopt the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's definition of anti-Semitism, which is a very, very, very broad definition. And most of the things in it are totally fine.
Yes.
And like, okay, well, yeah, most of it is totally fine. Like accusing Jews as people or Israel state of inventing or exaggerating the Holocaust. Yeah, no, I would consider that anti-Semitic. However, there are some very iffy things in there, such as drawing comparisons of contemporary Israeli policy to that of the Nazis, which doesn't make any sense. How is that anti-Semitic in any way? It like, if they're doing things which would relatively draw comparisons, it's just anti-Semitic because why exactly? I don't even understand. And there were other ones. There was the other big one was denying Jewish people their right to self-determination, e.g., by claiming that the existence of a state of Israel is a racist endeavor, which again doesn't make any sense, because what fucking like ethnicity has the right to self-determine? What other ethnicity do we go out and go like, yeah, no, black people, they should have their own country. They have the right to self-determination. Like, that doesn't make any sense. We don't say that for anyone else. To say that, yeah, no, I don't think black people should have their own country where they're allowed to include all black people and exclude people of any other ethnicity. I don't think that's a racist statement. So I don't understand why anyone with a thinking brain would say that it's an anti-Semitic statement to say that about Israel. I don't know. I'm sure I'm not going to be disagreed with you here, by you here, TJ. But I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Oh, could you imagine if I just
if you were just like, no, fuck it, that's anti-Semitic.
No, what? I didn't know I had an anti-Semite on this show. But so about this, like what you just said there, where that's a weird. A lot of it's weird, but like that one part where it says any comparisons of the nation state of Israel's and the actions of the nation state of Israel to the action of Nazis is anti-Semitic. Are you kidding me? Like what?
I've heard Holocaust survivors say that. Like Holocaust survivors have done that. You're telling me they're anti-Semitic?
Well, I mean, let's say they were wrong. Let's say they were wrong and they were actually doing it incorrectly. What if the government of Israel said, yeah, we're gonna do a Holocaust, like they just announced it. Yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna start wearing swastikas. We're gonna call our army stormtroopers. You still can't say it, like, because that's what it says. It's like, even if they,
right. Shouldn't there be a caveat? Shouldn't there be
exactly
a caveat that
says say what?
Shouldn't there be like a caveat in there that says you can't compare them to the Nazis unless they are acting like
exactly. It's a ridiculous statement. It's like, no matter what they do, you can't say no, fuck you. That's insane.
Also, TJ, I love, my favorite part of it that we're kind of glossing over here is the word contemporary in that sentence, because they're like, yeah, no, it would be absurd to not compare old Israeli policy to the Nazis. Like that was clearly similar to the Nazis. So that's not anti-Semitic. It's the contemporary policy that it's like a Freudian slip. The contemporary Israeli policy.
Yep. You know what I just thought of? So I don't necessarily love when people do this appeal to authority and stuff, because I'm going to talk about Einstein. So I reference Einstein occasionally when I talk about socialism, because Einstein believed that socialism was like the most obvious and effective way to run an economic system, because he's like, capitalism is going to collapse. It's not going to work. And I was like, well, listen, like, just because, and I agree, like, just because Einstein says something was good doesn't mean it was. Einstein was human. He wasn't God. He could have been wrong. But I do like to bring it out whenever, capitalists or libertarians like, yeah, you socialists just don't understand math. Okay, you cannot say that. You cannot look me in the eye and tell me
Einstein understood math. He can say a lot about him, but he got that.
Yeah, I think if there's one thing we can all agree on, Einstein pretty good in the math department. So I like to bring that up with him. But with the project of Israel, Einstein was approached to not only immigrate to Israel, but to I think be the president. Like, they wanted him to run for president, and he says, fuck no. He said, no, I'm not doing that. He said the actions of like Ben Gurion and the Israeli government reminds me of the Nazis. Like, those were his exact words. Like, he wrote like an article or an op-ed in the New York Times saying that. So you folks are gonna tell me that Albert fucking Einstein was an anti-Semite? Like you really wanna play this game here? So that's kind of insane, and that's a good point with the example I use is the Native Americans, but with I can't remember who I heard say something about this about like black people that it was Destructo Juco who was on the show a while ago too, but so like my ancestors, you go back far enough, or would have been somewhere, in West Africa, it would be insane for me to say, all right, millions of those West African descendants, we have the right of self-determination to return to the land of our ancestors, displace everyone there, kick them out of their houses, kick them off or better yet, we'll carve out a land for ourselves and we'll split it, give ourselves the most arable land and give them the shit land that you can't grow anything on, and give us access to all the ports and everything, and then you guys can get the shitty areas. And if you try to question me, it's like, well, my ancestors were here hundreds of years ago. So it's like, no, that's insane. You would never do something like that. And the one that I didn't mean to reference Marjorie Taylor Greene multiple times, but I have to do this because one of the stipulations that was said in there was an actual anti-Semitic, that was an anti-Semitic trope, in which it talks about any appeals to the collective, the collective responsibility of the Jewish people for the death of Christ, and saying that, the Jews killed Jesus, and that's why they deserve all the punishment they can get and everything. Yeah, there is a long history of that in the Western Hemisphere, thousands of years. And one person who voted against this bill was Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I was like, oh, I wonder why she did. For the worst possible reason. It was because of that right there. She came right out loud. She says, I voted against it because according to this legislation, if I were to say, hey, Jesus was crucified by the Romans, and it was the Jews that handed him over. If I said that, it could be a crime. And it's like, all right, you picked the worst possible reason to vote for this.
Of all the reasons you could have
all the fucking reasons, man. And it's like, you're not beating the anti-Semitism allegations. But those are my thoughts on it. What do you think, Todd?
I think what you just talked about, every brainwashed, indoctrinated asshole that I know on social media right now saying turn Palestine into a parking lot and Israel's got chosen people and they can do no wrong, and if a nation blesses them, God will bless that nation. Every single one of those people say the exact same trope that you just talked about. They would all be quick to say, but them Jews, they killed Jesus. Like, these people, they love Israel. I had no idea how many batshit crazy people I knew until all that. Like, I knew that people backed Israel, right? I knew, Israel's God's chosen people. I knew that that's there. I grew up in that. But watching it become this thing that I can't even say, hey, maybe Israel shouldn't level entire cities and neighborhoods and kill tens of thousands of innocent people and tens of thousands of children. Maybe they shouldn't kill humanitarian workers, maybe, without somebody going, you're an anti-Semite. Like, I would have never thought that would ever be something that I could be accused of for just saying, hey, you know what? Maybe they shouldn't level an entire country and commit a genocide. I mean, maybe you guys aren't shocked by this, but just the development over the last several months of this being a controversial issue. Like, the people I know, all the dumbasses I know on my timeline right now are like, by God, what are they teaching these kids in these colleges? They indoctrinate them. And why? Because they say stop bombing the shit out of innocent people. That's indoctrination now. Like, instead of going, well, I guess we raised these kids right. No, the colleges are indoctrinating them because they value human life.
Yeah, it really, one of the things, about this entire conflict that has really pissed me off is back in September, I had the same exact position I do now. But at the very least, I could be like, well, the people who support Israel that I know, in day-to-day life, like, they don't know diddly shit about this conflict. They just know, it didn't like personally affect me that so many people supported Israel. It was just like, oh yeah, the generations of propaganda, like, people don't know what's going on here. Now that we're in month 7 of this thing, it's like, okay, you've had time now to research this position. It's been broadcast everywhere what's going on here, and you still support this shit. You still, like, we're having the majority of the House of Representatives, Democrats included, going, yeah, saying that the Jews shouldn't have a specific ethno-state is anti-Semitic. Yeah, that's insane to me. It's absolutely insane to me. And it really does, like, it's hard for me to get over that with people now, because it's like TJ alluded to earlier, it's not complicated. It's very clear and obvious what is going on here. They started it by calling it a settler colonial state. There was a clear and obvious ethnic cleansing. They are currently occupying the West Bank, which isn't even anything to do with Hamas. And you're telling me that, like, criticism of that is fucking anti-Semitic, that the people protesting that are making Jews feel unsafe because they're Jewish. Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. And before, it was allowed to not make any sense because no one knew about it. But now that everyone knows about it and they're still arriving at that conclusion, I don't know how people are doing it. It really, I don't understand it fundamentally to my core.
I was going to ask, so John, you grew up Catholic, and Todd, did you grow up very religious at all?
Yeah, I grew up Baptist, and I actually I was preaching when I was in my early 20s.
Okay, so you probably did run across a lot of people who were, those who bless Israel shall be blessed, and those who curse Israel shall be cursed. I remember in the church, like, so end times eschatology, which I kind of redundancy, the eschatology is a big deal, and the creation of the nation state of Israel was a major moment, because the Bible mentions Israel in Revelation, but Israel stopped existing thousands of years ago. And so now it's like, oh, this is it. This is the last step. Now that Israel's here, we can have the rapture. We can have the battle of Armageddon. We can have the 144,000. We can have the 7 seals. We can have all this stuff to bring about the end of the world. And support of Israel was always like a really big deal among circles I was in. And I mean, the kind of Baptist that I grew up in, it was essentially, I mean, calling them Baptists is kind of this is kind of an insult to the tradition of Anabaptist Christianity, because it was just a civic religion that worshiped the United States and conservatism. But they always the people I knew made a huge deal about, we need to support Israel no matter what, no matter what they do. You can't question them because those are God's chosen people, which is ironic, like we were mentioning before, because the whole point is that they all die, and then to bring about the rapture. So I found it odd that you'd run across a lot of those folks, because I definitely did.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like what John said. Yeah, I knew tons of those people back in the day, but yeah, it was like most of them were just dumb and didn't know any better, and they didn't really have a genocide in front of them most to really analyze and make that part of their worldview and make it make sense. But yeah, I don't I don't know. I just it really is crazy. Like I'm seeing people and hearing people say the things that John talked about, like, hey, you cannot, like, these kids who are just setting up tents saying free Palestine are making Jewish people across the United States feel uncomfortable and feel like anti-Semitism is on the rise. Yet then we've got people like Bernie Sanders, who's Jewish, who says no, like, this is terrible, this is awful, and so many other Jewish people who are saying the same thing, but they're completely discounted. And I don't know if you've seen any of these videos of like people in Congress speaking to reporters and getting deeply biblical about why they're doing
yes.
what they're doing and why they're voting the way that they're voting. Well, because in order for Jesus to come back, I mean, I saw probably 3 congressmen this week say, well, in order for Jesus to come back and the second coming to happen, we have to do X, Y, and Z to help Israel for those things to happen. Like, what century is this? Like,
yeah. Absolutely, it's very disturbing. Lauren Boebert was one of them. I saw her just today at a rally, and she literally quoted that, Israel, if you bless Israel, you shall be blessed, and everything, as if that matters, like some biblical passage and shit. But people on the floor of Congress have talked about how important it is to back this like 70-year-old state, as if it's the same thing as the nation that existed thousands of years ago in antiquity. And narrator brought up a great point here that a greater percentage of Christian evangelicals identify as Zionists than American Jewish people. It's true. It's 100% true, because it is a major part of that philosophy. And what did he say on here? When the average American ever cared about the death of brown people, especially a majority Muslim population? Yeah, our track record ain't great on that. It ain't great, but they love, like, the Christian evangelicals. Like, they will talk about the what is it called? The annihilation of desecration, where a pig is sacrificed on the altar on the Temple of the Mount, and the red heifer will appear. They will say this with a straight fucking face, like these ancient legends, and try to tell you, well, this is what we need to craft our policy around. It is terrifying, because, like you said, like, what year is this? Like, if someone went to Congress, if someone stood up and said, all right, we've got a problem here with inflation, and we got to deal with it, but I know what the issue is. It's witchcraft. We need to do something to
burn those witches.
If someone said that, it would be like an immediate disqualifier. Like, okay, no.
That's the word I wanted to say. It should be disqualifying. Like, no one should vote for that person. Even if you are a fucking Christian, like, how can you vote for that person? Like, just, how can your values be that way? Like, it's insane to me.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like, and look, I'm out of my angry atheist phase. I've grown out of it, but Jesus, stuff like this starts happening, and I have no choice but to revert back into it. They force me in, and I don't like that we just give deference to people based solely upon the fact that they're religious. Where you say, oh, this is a good person, he's a man of God. As if that means anything to me. As if that, like, oh, so he must be a good guy because he worships this God. And
there's never been examples of bad guys throughout history.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cortez, classic Cortez, man of God. Very, very good man.
Spotless record on people doing things in the name of God. Yeah, it hasn't happened. Sorry, Todd, what were you going to say?
I think one of the things that's really opened my eyes with all of this is just to see, like, I get that the people who grew up going to church for their entire lives, who were, in some holler listening to or spout this shit for their whole life, and they really don't have that much of an education. I fully expect for them to go, well, Israel's got people in the story, whatever they do, they can do. I've seen people who are college professors who I respected up until this point be like, I support #Israel. Like, are you kidding me right now? Like, I don't know how to make sense of some of this stuff. Like I fully get Trump likes the uneducated. Those people are go Israel no matter what. But the number of people who I'm like, you were supposed to be educated out of this indoctrination. How are you still here?
Yeah, it is weird. And the two defenses that you'll hear generally are, one, so narrators put on here that obviously Palestinians are more closely related to Jewish people of Israel from thousands of years ago than the diaspora Jews who that settled there since the late 19th century. So with that, yeah, it's accurate, but I don't care.
It's accurate, but irrelevant. Yeah.
I don't care. I don't give a fuck. It's like, not that I'm not disparaging a narrator when you're trying to cut the argument, but the whole premise that, my ancestors lived here 2,000 years ago, therefore this land is mine, is absurd. Like, you would never you would never let that fly anywhere else. And so that's one of the arguments they use. And the other argument is the religious one. And they're both crazy. And because imagine, just say it out loud. Yeah, this stretch of land belongs to me because I asked God and he said it was okay. Really? And so it's like, I think it was Sam Harris who has, like, trust me, I'm not backing. So Sam Harris has a lot of horrible shit, but he said something that really made me laugh, that when it comes to prayer, like, no one looks down on people who pray, as much as Christians like to pretend they do. But if you sit down at a restaurant, you pray, no one's going to say anything. In fact, they'll leave you alone until you're done praying before they come talk to you. Mm-hmm. If you say, I'll pray for you, I'll pray for someone, people take it as a nice gesture, because in a way it is. You're thinking of them and everything. But think of how ridiculous this is. Like, if you saw me, talking to God through this screwdriver, and I was like, okay, if I had this screwdriver, I can talk to God, I can give him messages or whatever. Prayer is just removing the screwdriver. Like, why is it more acceptable when I don't? It's insanity. So people, reverting to that, it's like, no, it doesn't make any sense at all. And how far in the fashion? Well, we can get to that in a little bit later. That's
Whiskey,
actually the next topic.
We'll answer your question in tomorrow's episode.
Yes, very good, very good.
Actually, it might be today's episode. I really don't know how we're going to release these things, but there will be another episode of The Left Wing for people who aren't watching live, where we discuss the protests, and we're going to move on to that now.
Good stuff. We forgot to do the buffer. I just thought.
Yeah. Let's do the buffer. We're going to do the buffer, and then Witsky, we're answering your question because we have a whole segment for the protest specifically. So let's do that. Didn't think what I was going to say. Cool. All right, guys, if you have made it this far in the video, you're probably like me and absolutely losing your mind right now and feeling like the entire world is taking crazy pills because absolutely nothing makes sense. But luckily for you, we're here to make sense of it for you. And so is our wonderful guest this week, Superman. Superman, if our audience wanted to find you somewhere else, they liked what you had to say today, where can they do that?
Hey, I'm just pretty much only on TikTok at Superman Todd 2. I had a pretty good following on TikTok before I got permanently banned about a year or so ago. So my following's not nearly as big as it was, but just Superman Todd 2, kind of known as the Southern Liberal. So just hit me up on TikTok, and we'll have a good time together. Appreciate it, Todd.
His account was banned by my other account. Lex Luthor TJ was responsible for taking that down. So it was a pretty good time, but we appreciate you guys watching. Be sure to tune in next week. All right.
I was trying to figure out what I was like. Lex Luthor. Oh, Superman Todd.
So you mentioned the Southern Liberal thing, and we had Tennessee Brando on our show a couple months ago or something like that, and so that's something that we like to talk about a lot. Not necessarily the Southern part, but making like progressivism more palatable to people that one would generally imagine would find it, like a little repulsive. Like, what advice do you have to people who are trying to do stuff like that? Because it's a giant portion of the population. As much as I love making fun of Southerners, and I can do that because I was born in the South, so I can do it. I'm fine. But what's some good ways to try to get around to doing that, do you think, that just you found over the years?
Is just not be quiet. I think that, in the South, these red states, like Kentucky's a good 60, 65, 35 split of 65% is going to be red, 35 is going to be blue. But, 35%, that's a lot of people that can make a lot of noise. And I think that a lot of people who are progressively minded, who are surrounded by the other side, feel, like they just need to shut their mouth and just go about their day and avoid the conflict with other people. And that doesn't help anything. And just speak up, speak your mind, and don't ever be discouraged or feel like you have anything to apologize for being on the left side of politics south of the Mason-Dixon line.
I tell people this a lot, and in situations where people would think it would be hopeless, heavy conservative areas, because this true, it happens a lot where you don't need to be outnumbered by much to start just shutting up. You don't. And most people, and let's be real, most people who are, even if they are progressive minded, they're not like us. They don't have like an encyclopedia of shit ready to go at a moment's notice. They have their beliefs, they have their values, and they don't feel like fighting, and they don't have confidence in their ability to do it, and they think they're completely overwhelmed, like 10-1. But that's not the case. There's a lot of people out there like that. We talked about this before in the military. And the military is not as conservative as you would guess it is. Like, people would guess the military is like 80-20 conservative. It's more like 60-40, I would say. And this kind of applies for a lot of other things too. And the higher you go in the rank structure, the more it kind of flips. That the more rank you get, like you find more and more progressive, almost as if they're a little smarter. And I'm just saying, it's just kind of weird how that works out like that. But people, you just gotta learn to not be afraid and not be scared, because a lot of times, a lot of left wingers will do this. I hear this all the time. Whenever like Arizona does this backward abortion law, or Texas does this, let's do a moat full of alligators on the southern border and shit. They're like, look, why don't we just cut the South loose? We made a mistake with the whole Civil War thing. Just cut them loose and let them do what they want. And no, that is a bad idea. First, it's not going to happen. But even as a fantasy, it's not a good idea, because there's a lot of good people that you would be sentencing to a horrible fate by doing that. And I forgot the second point I had with that. But
and most of the black people, by the way,
almost all the black people, almost all of them, yeah. And second, what you would end up creating is this weird, like Pakistan-esque religious backwater. That's what you would turn it into. It would turn into like this festering pool of religious conservatism and bitterness and anger that would result into it would be a failed state in no time. So yeah, I know it's not possible, but even as a fantasy, don't entertain it, because there's a lot of good people that are just happen to be outnumbered 60-40, and they don't have the luxury of having a 55-45 majority like you do, and we could fight to kind of make it that way. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Let's get into our final topic then. All right. So, guys, we discussed this last week on the show, and it is remaining the kind of number one political story in the country right now, and that is these darn pesky kids in their campus protests. It has been an ongoing dispute. Really, Columbia University is at the center of this. I also see a lot about UCLA. But like those are the two that are in the center, but this is across college campuses nationwide, where student organizations are coming together and setting up encampments. They're setting up encampments. They're doing various things. They're calling on their universities to divest from the state of Israel, to all of their university endowments. They want them to take their money out of Israel and companies that are in Israel. And it is a strategy which was used during the protests against South African apartheid, which was incredibly effective. And seeing how this is another apartheid state, as defined by Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, this seems to be, to me, a pretty clear and obvious, hey, the students who are protesting against this war thing are always right every single time they've done it in history, and the people who try and stop them using state violence are always wrong. And yet, we are now in this position again, where we have the President of the United States giving a national address today, saying that we definitely support the right to protest and the freedom of speech, but protest can't cause disorder. And I thought that was a part. And he also said that, occupying a building is not peaceful protest. And it's like, no, yes, it is. By fucking definition, it is. He's trying to make this claim that if you do something illegal during a protest, then it is not peaceful and it is wrong, which is a claim that I see people lining up all across the country making, as if Nelson Mandela, MLK, Rosa Parks, all of these people didn't go to prison for breaking the law. Fucking Gandhi went to prison for breaking the law and occupying buildings. Was he not peaceful? It doesn't make any sense. There's the classic line that goes around that, liberals think that every single anti-war protest in history was correct except the current one. And it just seems to be so obviously and starkly true in this situation for me. It makes me feel like I'm banging my head against a wall talking to people who don't understand what English words mean. And that's how I usually feel talking to like MAGA Republicans, but it is the majority of the fucking country right now, and it blows my mind. Todd, what were your thoughts? What have your thoughts been on, because you weren't here last week, so what have your thoughts been as this campus protest story has been developing?
Yeah, I've been seeing a whole lot about it, and of course, I'm listening to all the people. I'm blue surrounded by red, and so there's are you still there, John?
Yeah, I'm still there. I'm fixing my camera. You keep going.
Seeing people just talk about how, you know, Israel's right, and, you know, they deserve their own state, and God's on their side. Those same people watching kids setting tents out in open areas on universities cannot abide in the fact these kids should not be here in this space. They have to be removed off of state or whatever these universities own, whoever owns this land that they're staying on. You cannot even abide these kids being in a tent on a university campus, yet
pay to attend.
Israel should be able to occupy a country of millions of other people, like, and displace them. Make that make sense. Like kids are peacefully protesting and we don't like it. Send in the cops and rip their ass out of there. But Israel, fucking let the bombs drop, man. Take that country that you know. Was it you, TJ, who posted the video of Harry Truman when first started, kind of breaks it down of like, yep, we moved out the Palestinians and the Israelis came in, and one of these days maybe it'll be good.
What was that? I haven't heard that quote. What was that about, DJ?
So it's a video from like 47 or 48, and Harry Truman is standing in front of a map of the Middle East, and it's got, you know, Syria, Jordan, you know, Lebanon, and Palestine there. And he says that, well, so with the situation, we had a lot of hardliners and the Zionists who essentially wanted us to remove 5 or 6 million Palestinians and replace them with 5 or 6 million European Jews. And we said, well, we can't really do that. It's like, that's an undertaking that we can't really do. But they were really hardliner. They really wanted to do it. So we had to find some sort of compromise. And his exact words were, because it's very difficult to remove 5 or 6 million people and replace them with 5 or 6 other million people and have both sides be happy. So we kind of had a little compromise here. Right? One of those sides in particular is going to be pretty unhappy.
Compromising.
And he says, so, you know, we made a deal. We got something in there, but it's a step-by-step process, and one of these days it's going to be complete. I mean, he lays out the entire plan right there. So if anyone tells you that, no, that's been the plan since day fucking one, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Like, I don't know. It's insulting to this point where people are like, no, that's never been what they wanted. You know, they just wanted this kind of society here, and those damn Palestinians are just like, they're animals. They can't be pleased with anything, and so they just act with all this violence and shit. And like what we're talking about with the protests and everything, it is kind of insane. Like John mentioned, like this is the extent of the demands of at least the Columbia University protest. It's like, hey, we pay tuition to go to the school. This school is our school. We are the students here. And we found out that Columbia University puts a lot of money towards Zionist causes. We would rather they not do that. That's it. That is what they're asking for. And they said, because, I mean, they can't do anything to stop the IDF. They can't. But we'd rather not, you know, our tuition and donation money go to fund this project. And the reaction from people's like, How fucking dare you? Who do you think you are? You spoiled, entitled brat. It's like, wait a minute. What do we like this whole free speech and protest thing or not? And John, what you brought up is that people seem to really confuse these two concepts of how can I put it? Peaceful protests and non-violent protests, which aren't always the same thing. They're not, because one could say that, you know, breaking windows and kicking down a door is a violent protest. All right, you can say that. Still peaceful though. It's still like no one's getting hurt, no one is getting damaged here. No one is no human beings, like the things that actually matter. And God, I know I for those of you watching the broadcast might feel weird today. I fucked up the broadcast because I was late and I don't have a video, but there's a video that I really hope works that I wanted to show. This is from the Columbia protest, because the students had locked themselves into a building and they had put a sign up there. It was called Hind Hall. They renamed it, you know, for the protest. And Hind was the name of the 6-year-old Palestinian girl. If you guys know the story about her, it was tragic. She was traveling with her family, like 5 or 6 family members, and they were hit by an IDF rocket, and all her family members died. Like, she was surrounded by the corpses of half a dozen of her relatives, and she called for help. And the Palestinians sent an ambulance to go rescue her, blew up her and the ambulance. And that's the people that we're dealing with right here. And so they locked themselves in there, and the cops showed up in a vehicle I have never seen before. I hope this video works. So let me see if I can share this. Oh, it did. Good. Have you guys ever seen anything like this? Like, it is like I've never seen. It's like this weird armored car with, like, now this that little platform they have on there. They're gonna end up using it to try to storm through one of the windows. And yeah, here it is. So it's kind of like a fireman's ramp in a lot of ways. They're just gonna go up there and try to go in and break into the windows that way. Now I had never seen that, but I just want to point out how fucking dystopian that is. Like, that looks like a version of the Batmobile or something. Like, someone just has this, like,
TJ, it looks like they asked the question, how can we make a ladder cost $150,000 and also look like Nazis would use it? That's the answer to the question.
Yes, like that looks like an offensive weapon. Like, that vehicle, look, it is terrifying. It's like, yeah, a regular ladder, a platform would have done just fine. Would have done just fine. Hell, a barricade, you know, going through the front door, you know, a battering ram going through some cops who are better at climbing. Like, it wasn't that tall. It wasn't that high. Like, it wasn't that high. It was like 12 feet off the ground. But yeah, I've seen a lot of vehicles
in there and just like throw him up. He's
Joel Embiid anyway. Yeah, but that's what we're dealing with here. Is that, you know, you have now listen. Fine, you can say that the students are misguided, they're wrong, whatever. Fine, okay, I get it, but the reaction seems to be a little bit much. It seems to be a tad bit much for what they're asking for here, and I posted a video about Joe Scarborough, comparing the Columbia protesters of today with the Vietnam protesters of the 60s. And his comparisons is that they were both wrong. The ones that are shutting down schools for this. And so, he said that you know, they played a clip from some Columbia student in the 60s who she was talking about how, you know, well, we're putting a stop to everyday activities on campus. You know, we can hold up classes, we can hold up events. We may be able to shut down for the spring, but at the end of the day, this is a giant corporation with a lot of money, and there's only so much we can do. And Joe Scarborough said, you know, it makes just as much sense to have 18 and 19-year-olds in charge back then as it does now. It doesn't make any sense at all. Where are the adults? Where are the adults that are running this university? Why are they allowing this to happen? And I was like, bro, like, they were right. Did we skip that part? Did we skip the part that they were 100% right? Go ahead, John. Sorry.
No, I was gonna they were right. I remember specifically learning about this in school. I was taught in public school about the Vietnam War and the Vietnam War protests. And did my public school teachings go so far as to say, yeah, the United States is an evil empire and should have never invaded Vietnam. No, but I was taught that the Vietnam protesters were the good guys. Like, I was taught in my public school system that the Vietnam protesters were good and the cops who were killing them were bad. And like, I do not understand how anyone can look at this and see how clearly, obviously, the same it is as that, and then arrive at the conclusion that both are wrong, because they were right. We all know Vietnam was bad. Like, unless you're a fucking boomer like Biden, like, I feel like everyone who's 50 and under looks back at Vietnam and goes, yeah, that was pretty bad, and the protesters had a good point. I wanted to show because you brought it up. I'm going to share my screen here. The freaking demands. Because they're very, very clear. And it's so hard to find these, by the way. If you look up Columbia University protest demands, you have to like go through certain things to find what these even are, which I think is just very symbolic of, everything. But shit. Okay, no, it's not that one. No, wrong. I'm sorry.
Wrong.
I'm
That's
sorry.
Trumpism.
This is the wrong one. This is the article I had to go to in order to even find the demands. Hold on, we're gonna try this again. Here, boom. Here we go. So these are the demands. 1, financial divestment of all of Colombia's finances, including the endowment from companies and institutions that profit from Israeli apartheid, genocide, and occupation of Palestine. Ensure accountability by increasing transparency around financial investments. And I think that makes sense. I think that everyone should want universities to be more transparent about what they are investing in. I think it makes sense that if a company is profiting from an illegal occupation, which Israel is doing, it's reasonable that the morally correct thing to do would be to not invest in that company. Number 2, an academic boycott. Sever academic ties with Israeli universities, including Global Center in Tel Aviv, the dual degree program in Tel Aviv University, and all study abroad programs, fellowships, and research collaborations with Israeli academic institutions, which makes sense. If Israeli academic institutions are helping Israel in their plight to occupy and kill Palestine and Palestinians, it makes sense to do that. Stop the displacement. And this one I thought was maybe like I could buy, where like Colombia might have a reasonable argument because it doesn't seem to actually have anything to do with Palestine. So this is the one where I was like, okay, they don't want to do that, but I'm pretty sure if like they just rejected this and kept the others, the protesters would be like, yeah, no, I would do that. No policing on campus. That seems like a pretty reasonable thing to not have cops coming in and arresting protesters on campus. And then end the silence. And release a public statement calling for the immediate permanent ceasefire in Gaza, denouncing the ongoing genocidal campaign against the Palestinian people, and calling government officials to do so. Now, that is what the students actually want. That it is there's nothing anti-Semitic in there at all whatsoever. We have random protesters saying other things, but like that is, if you're talking about the organized protests that are going on at Columbia University, that is their demands. There is nothing anti-Semitic about them. You can't even fucking like try to make that anti-Semitic. And the thing is, everyone who's talking about this, including Joe Biden, including everyone in media, is just ignoring the option Colombia has to just do that. Like, there's like, oh, well, they got to call the police. They're illegally trespassing. It's like, no, they don't. They could just they could just do the things the protesters want them to do. And if the things the protesters want them to do are morally justified, then it would be unjustifiable to use police force to remove the protesters who want you to do the right thing. And it just seems like the conversation for so many people never gets there. She's like, oh, they're breaking the law. Property rights are above everything else in this country. And so Colombia has a right to get them off the property, whether or not the protesters are correct or not. And it's just like, I don't know who taught people. Like, this is not what I learned. And I went to a good school. I will say I had great teachers, but like, I didn't fucking learn that. I don't know when people fucking get taught this. Maybe I just went to a really good fucking school, but I don't know who gets taught. Yeah, no, protesters are always wrong if they're breaking a law.
I mean, me and TJ, our generation, we grew up watching the Wonder Years, and we watched freaking Kevin Arnold go out and walk out from school and protest war. Like, I mean, You don't even have to learn it in school. We grew up.
It's all over media. Like all of the movies and TV
lives.
shows we watch. That's the message.
Everybody understands. College kids are always right. They protested for civil rights. They protested for the Vietnam War to end and the draft to end. They protested against invading Iraq. Like, when were they wrong?
Yeah,
I've been asking that question to my audience like so much. Like everyone, and like, give me one example in which mass college protests. Like, college kids have obviously been wrong about many things throughout history. We've all been college kids. We know we were wrong about shit back then. But when it's a mass protest like this against a state action of war, when have they ever been wrong in all of history? I can't think of a single fucking time.
Yeah. Staggering success rate for mass college protests. Got to tell you, like, for correction, because
how come, I want to say this, Joe Scarborough. Yeah, why would we let the 18-year-olds who are the adults in the room? Well, then how come the 18-year-olds are always the ones who are fucking right? Like, why are the adults always wrong and why are the 18-year-olds always right? Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, like I'm sure. So it's so weird too, because like the Iraq war thing and even the whole war on terror thing, this is what I've been saying this for months and how frustrating this is, because we didn't learn a goddamn thing. We didn't learn anything. Like we went through all of this for 20 years and I thought we learned our lesson, but the second brown people start deviating 1 degree from our prescribed solutions in the Middle East, all right, time to drop the nukes. Let's go. What are we waiting for? And just like John, like you have like faint memories of 9/11 or whatever, but I say this all the time that it's always a dead giveaway whenever someone says that they missed September 12th. That is a dead giveaway to what kind of person that was, because the nation was just enveloped in bloodlust like I had never seen before. And there was a lot of grief, but there was a lot of rage. And like, we were united, sure, but we were united looking for an enemy. And at least I'm not excusing it, but you can understand, like 9/11 was terrifying. Like, everyone, like, we don't even have that. Like, what are we doing here? Like, it's like, this is like, what are you doing? Like, what is your big concern about this? And if, and like the deflections are the most annoying thing too. The deflections about this, because the college kids have this, they'll say, listen, like what's going on in Israel is a human rights violation. All the human rights organizations say it. The Hague says it. Every member of the UN Security Council
has ruled that it's plausibly genocide. Like I don't know what the fuck else you want here.
They're issuing arrest warrants for Netanyahu, and it's like, okay, what the fuck?
By the way, this is, I don't know. Like, our audience might not have seen this. This is one of my favorite headlines this week, that Israel has told the U.S. State Department that if the ICC comes to arrest them, they're going to literally punish the Palestinian Authority for it. Like, how do you support that? Like, where's your law and order people at? Where's the resisting arrest? He deserved to die. So does that motherfucker. Like,
what else do you need at this point? Like what else are you looking for? And so like, the thing they love to do is deflection, because it's easier than saying anything else. It's like, well, Hamas is bad, right? First off, fuck you. All right, fine. I'm sick of it. I'm sick and tired of hearing this shit. That has nothing to do. Like, let's say Hamas was the worst organization to ever exist in human history. All right, cool. That does not justify slaughtering 15,000 kids. Sorry, I got that doesn't seem, that's a non sequitur if I've ever seen one. Second, if they will say that, and you guys have definitely heard this, like, it definitely, being content creators, you've heard people say this or saw people post this, that, well, listen, yeah, sure, they've murdered 20,000 civilians or so, but you got to remember those civilians supported Hamas, so they kind of had it coming. And all right, you know who else supported Hamas? Benjamin fucking Netanyahu. Like, for years, he's been supporting Hamas because he wanted to create a boogeyman to justify any actions there. So by that logic, you should want to kill Netanyahu. That's what I'm hearing here, or you'll be perfectly fine with it. But they're not, because it's just a deflection. It's not about the actual core issue at all. And if we're going to, and they'll say stuff like, well, I saw Boebert said this. So Boebert was saying, I've seen a lot of like gays for Gaza sign and stuff like that. And, you guys know that if you guys were living in Palestine, that it's illegal to be gay there, and so it's wrong. And also you have like Saudi Arabia, they have all these destructive laws and policies. They're not progressive, and it's like, okay, listen, yeah. However, if we're going to pretend that Israel is above that, like the whole argument here is that Israel is the beacon of democracy in the Middle East. Israel is the one shining hope for it. Why are you asking me to judge Israel by the same standard that I'm going to judge a religious theocracy? It sounds like you know what Israel is, and that you actually don't want me to judge it by a different standard. And so it's just incredibly frustrating, because the longer this goes on, the harder it is for, just like Todd said, I am having a very difficult time respecting anyone who is not acknowledging the reality here, and just like pretending that if you said this shit to me in 2005, okay, I get it. Like everyone was kind of brainwashed with this, but we keep seeing this shit day after day after day. We know what's going on. You just don't want to admit it.
And I got into an argument, someone who was well-meaning, but like they were upset that like, oh, well, the people who are saying that the people on the other side of this protest are pro-genocide, that's not true. They don't actually, like, most people who support Israel don't actually want to kill the Palestinians. It's like, that doesn't fucking matter. Like, I understand if I'm judging a normal human being that I'm talking to, like, I'm going to give them the doubt. I'm going to like try and explain to them and just treat them like they're on a pathway of learning. But you don't get to say that about people who should know better, who are the people that these protests are protesting against. The fucking the leaders of our universities, our educational systems should fucking know better. The elected officials of our country should fucking know better. It's like, this isn't a moral judgment. They know what the actual outcome of the policy that they are supporting is, and that is the death of thousands of innocent people and the occupation of Palestinian territory. And that is the outcome. Whether you think it is or not, that is what it is. Just like the people who are pro-life, they might not care about controlling women's bodies, but gosh darn it, the policy they support controls women's bodies. And if you, the problem with that and treating them as if they're different is that people who want to control women's bodies can just say, oh no, I'm with the other pro-lifers who don't, we just care about the babies. And you can't distinguish between the two. And it's the same case here. The people who want to be committing genocide, if I was trying to commit genocide, it would look like this. I would do exactly what Israel is doing. And I would not just go out there and just nuke fucking Gaza. I would try and kill as many people as I could while maintaining plausible deniability. And that's exactly what it would look like. And the fact that no one fucking gives a shit is just, it hurts. It hurts. We've rambled for a while. Give us your thoughts.
So I think that one of the things about these protests on the universities that I don't think the right gets, and a lot of, I guess,
everyone to the right of us, Todd, like
pro-Israel, but the right talking point of these colleges are liberal indoctrination centers and they just take kids and they indoctrinate them and make them leftists, right? Who do you think is calling the police to come in here and get these kids out of these universities, to forcibly remove them? It's the people in charge of these universities that you're
right
are people who are leftist indoctrination is their goal. Yet it's like it doesn't work. Like, that argument is gone too in observing this. Like, oh, these bunch of liberals, like, no, these people at the universities aren't being liberal enough. Like when people say, where are the guy on MSNBC or CSNBC, whatever it was, that said, where are the adults and why are they not? Yeah, where are the adults on the universities? Why are they not protesting too? Mm-hmm. Why are they not there?
There's faculty in there.
Professors were. Yeah. The professors, the administrators were the ones that had the problem.
And that's the thing where they're like, oh, these spoiled college kids, They're protesting against owners of fucking Columbia. Yeah, the Columbia kids, a lot of them are spoiled. I give you that, but they're not as fucking spoiled as the owner of fucking Columbia University. Like, get the fuck out of here. Narrator, if you're still here, thank you very much for your contributions. We will make an actual sticker for you to give a super sticker, and it doesn't just say super sticker. But thank you very much.
I didn't know what that meant. That was such a newbie.
I think it's like you can like do a sticker, but we haven't put a sticker up.
So. Gotcha. Yeah, we appreciate the support, man. And so that's a fantastic point that because they love to attack the college. I'm so fucking mad at you, Todd. I didn't think about this, but it's like that they love to attack the elitist college professors and everything. And but yeah, the professors are out there. Like there was it wasn't Columbia, it was somewhere out west, but where the cops were like beating the shit, huh?
It was Texas. It was
Texas. Yeah, the cops were beating the shit out of some sort of a. Oh yeah, hopefully, yeah, we appreciate you too. We're beating the shit out of one of the professors and dragging them away and everything. And like the actual elites, the people who own, these schools, the administration, everything like that, they're the ones sending in the Gestapo to get these folks. And I've seen a couple people talk about, so all of a sudden. All you guys who have been bitching about January 6th for 3 years, all of a sudden you don't seem to mind people storming into buildings. Like, yeah, you fucking moron. Protesting good things is good, and protesting bad things are bad. Like it's that simple. It's not tricky.
TJ, the thing they always say is like, oh, but shouldn't the law equally apply to everyone? It's like, yes, the law should equally apply to everyone. Columbia shouldn't be invoking the fucking law. That's the debate here. It's not about whether or not like they should be allowed to call the police for trespassers. Yeah, the reason they're trespassing shouldn't matter. The question is, should they call the police on the trespassers, or should they do what the protesters want? And the answer is clearly do what the protesters want. And that's the part that is always left out of the debate.
Yeah, it's insanity. I try my best not to, engage right wingers on this because like it's the same thing with like Ukraine or whatever. They say when Ukraine was happening, well, I'm anti-war. Israel, they're pro-wars. Okay, wait a minute. Yeah, so stop saying you're anti-war. Like you're just pro-Russia. That's what it is. And you're anti-Muslim. And I don't know. I just wish they had the courage of their convictions. Just say what you actually fucking believe and stop hiding behind this nonsense to try to, paint yourselves to be a better person than you are. That's all I'm asking.
Todd, do you have any last thoughts? Because I wanted to wrap it up by going back to Witzke's original question.
What original question you're talking about?
So if you had any thoughts, I want to give you the space before I kind of wrap it up because we're coming to the end of this video here.
I just appreciate y'all having me tonight.
Cool.
Thank you very much, Todd. So to wrap it up, so Witzke originally asked us, if you want to put that up on the screen, TJ, after watching the response to these protests, how far into fascism do you all think that the U.S. is right now? And I think the clear and obvious message you should be getting from this, everything we've discussed today, is right now is no fucking farther than we were for Vietnam, for South African apartheid. This is something that we have done throughout our entire history. This isn't more fascist than any other. This is just as fascist as all of those other times that we now call fascist. That is what President Biden is doing. Am I, in general, more worried about America slipping into fascism right now than I have been in the past? Yes, but this is not a reason why. This has happened constantly over and over again. And every single time, the people who are for the crackdown end up calling it fascist 20 years later. You will see it. All of the fucking take notes on the people who are down talking these protesters. And when you see them post on their fucking social media 20 years from now about how they supported these protesters, have the fucking receipts ready because I'm fucking saving them.
Yeah. I agree. We inevitably always display the indelible stamp of our fascist nature. We always do it. We do it a clockwork. It never fails whenever this happens. I keep waiting for us to learn a lesson, but unfortunately, we're very slow learners. Maybe a couple more centuries and we'll figure it out. All right, good stuff. We'll go ahead and close out here.